Imagine a phone company that sells more smartphones in Africa than Apple, a brand that dominates some of the world's fastest growing markets. Yet if you live in America or Europe, you've probably never even heard its name. This is Transsion Holdings, the Chinese tech company behind Tecno, itel, and Infinix. In 2017, it sold more phones in Africa than Samsung and Apple. By 2020, it held over 40% of the smartphone market across the continent. But Transsion didn't win by launching the flashiest phones or spending billions on marketing. It won by understanding what the big players missed. It built affordable phones with long battery life, dual SIM support, and cameras tuned for darker skin tones. It didn't just ship products, it studied local needs, built local teams, and designed from the ground up for users in Lagos, Nairobi, Accra, and Addis Ababa. This is how Transsion became Africa's phone king and how it built a multi-billion-dollar empire while staying invisible to the rest of the world. Transion's story begins in Shenzhen, China, the global heart of electronics manufacturing. In the early 2000s, George Zhu, a former executive at Chinese phone brands like Bird and Ningbo Bird, noticed something unusual. His company's phones were underperforming in China, but gaining traction in unfamiliar markets, especially in Africa. Zhu realized that while competition was fierce in China, Africa was still wide open. The big brands hadn't taken it seriously. There were massive logistical challenges, limited infrastructure, and low average incomes, all of which deterred companies like Apple and Samsung from investing heavily. But where others saw risk, Zhu saw an opening. In 2006, he launched Transsion Holdings with a singular focus: to build phones tailored specifically for Africa. The first breakthrough came with the launch of Tecno Mobile. From day one, Tecno didn't try to copy Apple or compete on specs. It focused on features that mattered to African consumers. The first was dual SIM capability. In countries where network coverage varies and mobile plans are expensive, many users carry multiple SIM cards. Most global brands ignored this. Tecno made it standard. Next, battery life. In rural areas and even many cities, power outages are common. Tecno phones prioritized long battery performance and low power usage. Some models could last several days on a single charge, clear edge over competitors. But perhaps the most talked about innovation was the camera. Transsion hired local teams to fine-tune smartphone cameras to better capture darker skin tones, a detail other companies had long neglected. In a market where selfies and social media were booming, this wasn't cosmetic, it was strategic. As demand grew, Transsion expanded its portfolio. It launched itel, a brand focused on ultra-low-cost feature phones, often under $20. Then came Infinix, aimed at tech-savvy youth looking for trendy spec pack devices at a lower price point. Each brand served a different segment, but they all followed the same playbook: affordability, local relevance, and deep distribution. Transsion knew that in most African countries, online shopping was limited, so they built one of the continent's largest offline sales and service networks. Their phones weren't just in malls, they were in corner shops, markets, and mobile stalls. They also invested in after-sales support, setting up service centers and repair networks. For customers buying their first smartphone, this mattered. It built trust. And they didn't stop at phones. Transsion built an ecosystem: Boomplay for music streaming, Vskit for short videos, and even their own app store, Palm Store. They partnered with local telcos and content creators, embedding their platforms into everyday life. By the late 2000s and 10s, Transsion wasn't just another phone brand. It was the digital gateway for millions of first-time internet users in Africa. In 2019, the company went public on China's Star Market, a NASDAQ-style board in Shanghai. It raised over $400 million, giving it a valuation of more than $6 billion. By then, it was selling more than 100 million handsets annually across 70-plus countries, not just in Africa, but also in South Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Latin America. Still, Africa remained its stronghold. In Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and Ethiopia, Tecno and itel often beat out Apple and Samsung in both sales and brand recall. This dominance wasn't accidental. It was the result of deep market research, local hiring, and a willingness to solve real-world problems instead of chasing tech headlines. Transsion's rise offers a case study in what it takes to win in emerging markets. It didn't treat Africa as one market. It treated each country as its own ecosystem. It didn't copy Western business models. It built its own. And instead of chasing prestige, it focused on reach, relevance, and retention. Today, Transsion is expanding beyond phones. It's experimenting with smart accessories, TVs, and consumer electronics. It's investing in local startups. And it's exporting its playbook to other underserved regions. Meanwhile, many global companies are only just starting to recognize the scale and complexity of African markets. But Transsion has already spent almost 2 decades learning it from the ground up. The West might have built Silicon Valley, but Transsion quietly built something just as valuable: digital infrastructure for the next billion mobile users. And they did it without anyone watching.